Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my podcast, Girl with the Camera. And on today's episode, I have a pleasure to basically welcome Danny Drysdale, a music video director responsible for videos like Human by the Killers. I'm pretty sure you all seen that. The World We Live In, or Rut. And recent work includes directing music videos for the whole Echosmith Lonely Generation album in just 6 days. Okay. So we're definitely going to talk about this. But let me just first start off by asking you, can you tell me when a musician or band call you, do they have a specific idea or vision for their music video, or they will call you and say, oh, Danny, we have this single. Can you come up with some ideas?
Actually, the second version is the dream situation. Hey, we have this song. Do you have any ideas? And preferably if it's the artist themselves, that's very cool, because there's this whole world of pitching, which is just very cold and dreary. And you don't know who you're sending your information to, really. You don't know where your ideas are going to end up. And it goes to some commissioner somewhere, and it's a lonely and dreary thing. Did I mention that? And it's where all good ideas go to die, right? Is like into the pitch world, where I don't even know if my stuff ever gets seen by the band or who's looking through it all. I don't understand the structure very well. In the case of the Killers, I knew this was a chance because they had seen one of my other videos. And that's how this all happened. I did a thing with them for the Enemy, like a small thing. Mm-hmm. So this was my shot. And I just sent them what I thought would be the most overwhelming presentation of material. Seriously, like 10-page pitches for each video. Ridiculous. Like artistic, total Photoshop stuff. Like every page was like a masterpiece. I went nuts with it. And I thought, if they don't think I'm visual after seeing this, I don't know. I give up. I give up.
But it worked.
It did somehow. I think because of the song too, and just understanding there was just an emotional thing with the song that I really linked up to. And so that's how that happened. But I've done the grind of like, I'm going to write a pitch every 2 days. I'm going to, even if I don't get it, like just write over and over and over again. The presentation of your pitch is super important. Make it as clear and concise and in your language and in their language. I mean, there's mm-hmm. formats that people tell you about, but all kinds of things work, so.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Like you obviously show them that you really want to get it.
They also need to believe that you can do it.
Yeah.
That's like the thing. Like whoever your producing team is, for me, it was just me and my wife at the time. Like we're divorced now, but she and I were the producing team. So it was kind of like, we can do this and we can do this. I mean, it was like overboard. It was mm-hmm. Pushing the envelope, but we can do it. I pulled it off. We pulled it off.
Yeah. And speaking of pulling it off, when I did my research, this is very interesting. When I did my research, I've seen you put on the Instagram a screenshot from The World We Live In. The description was that you had like 12-hour notice or something to pull it off. And I was reading it. I was like, no way. Like, can you tell me about this?
I'd love to tell this. So I got a text from the manager. He's like, hey, Brandon's going to call you about this video. Like, what video? He's like, I don't know. Of course, after coming out of Human, I was super self-conscious because it became such a big song, and then it got so much praise and attention. I was instantly repped in Los Angeles like that. Like it was so weird. And then I got a follow-up, So Brandon called me, and the conversation shall forever remain secret. But I did get I don't want to say what he said, but it was cool. We just talked about the song and what he was trying to do. And it was a great song on the album. but I hadn't thought about it the way he described it. And he wanted me to bring something new to it. And he said, oh, we'll be in Banff in like 2 days or something, or like tomorrow or whatever. I'm like, what? So I booked a flight. I grabbed a DP, booked a flight, and prepped the video. It was actually really funny. We wandered around Banff and I was looking for like abandoned areas and couldn't find anything. And I was basically like, this was the night before they were supposed to show up. I'd already gone shopping. So we'd gotten the chair and the sheet music. Like the stuff was coming together. Mm-hmm. The sheet music part was so inspirational. That I could find music that like had titles that I understood that would match kind of with what the theme of the song was emotionally for me when I heard it. But I wanted to bring a different feeling to it than what was on the record. Something maybe a little darker and a little more drab and not so, the song itself is so bright. I wanted to kind of bring it down a little bit. Mm-hmm. So my idea was like, this is Ray Bradbury's like killer's moment. Like to me, it was like the world in the year 3000 or something. And the killers come back and they're like, hey, look at this place. And people were shorter and it's weird. And there's like abandoned homes and things. Cause they walk into that little cabin, you know, the hermit cabin. So it's a real hermit cabin. And that was on the hit list of like, we'd heard there was a hermit cabin and we couldn't find it. And then we were eating dinner and telling people about the shoot. And someone was like, oh, I know where that is. And then that solved everything. And suddenly we had found all of our locations. But it was like assignment, flight, land, look for things, next day shoot. I mean, it was insane.
It turned out very well. It actually looks like you had a lot of time to prepare this in terms of planning. So we can go into another question, which is related to coming up with idea. I don't know whose ideas that was, but let's make 12 music videos for the whole album and let's do it in 6 days, right? I mean, really? Wow. Can you tell me more about this?
That was the manager's idea. I mean, I answered an ad on some website in England where directors can go and pitch. There was a thing that was very vague that was like, hey, we're looking for an art director for this next album. And I just wrote them and said, forget art directing. Like, I'm going to completely author all the videos. I'm going to do everything that you need, like soup to nuts. Very bold. And I didn't hear from them for 2 months. And then I got this random text from Jeffrey David, who's the manager of Echosmith. And he's like, hey, you still interested? I'm like, in what? What did I agree to? It went really well because now Jeffrey's my manager, by the way, which is
super cool. So,
yeah, super cool. He's like, we want to do 12 videos. Can you do it? And I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds insane. Yes, that's scary. Let's do this. Pretty tight budget. I've told them in passing, actually more than once, that it was a dream situation because there I was in the room with the band with my like concepts written out, you know, two lines per concept per video that I had to go and listen to the songs and go, oh, this is this. And then, you know, we went back and forth. We went down that list together. We did a couple of meetings. It was amazing. I don't even know how that happened. While we were doing it, I was like, how is this happening? Like, why are we doing so many? And it was shot and scheduled like a film. Like nothing was related to the videos as we were doing it. It was all out of order. Like, oh, we need to go over there. Like, let's go shoot this thing. I mean, it was all just this maze of material. And I escorted them to Utah because Utah has like every location except for one of the videos. And I'll explain that in a second. I mean, the dunes, the cowboy stuff. I don't know, go through the list. There's every single location.
And you filmed Human in Utah.
Yeah, Utah as well. Like I'm I'm from California, but I live in Utah, and there's so much great scenery here. Mm-hmm. And frankly, we could do another 12 videos with Echosmith. We didn't even go to all the cool places, in my opinion. We went to a bunch of the cool places, but there's so much more here. So, yeah, I mean, we really did do it. We had quite a tight crew, and we just were very mobile. And I knew as we were doing it, I'm like, we can't do all of these. Something's going to go wrong. Like we're going to miss one. So I felt emotionally driven to do this. I was like, I want to do one video that's just me, like me shooting it, everything, like no one in the way, just like, we're going to do it together. And that's the one I'm most proud of, actually. It just ended up being something I'm really proud of. Do you know which one I'm talking about? It's called I Don't Want to Lose My Love.
Oh man. Like, I have to say, it's not easy for me to watch because of my personal experience. That makes it very believable. So it's the emotion is so true in that music video. Like, and you know, like camera angles and the way it's edited. And
there's this part about shooting that like removes, because when you shoot with a crew, there's everybody around the camera and there's so much distance from the subject. And I'm in the water with her. I'm on the ground with the surfer who's passed away. I'm like completely involved in it. And that's part of the feeling, I think, of the video that I didn't really know was so powerful until I saw those other videos and then realized what had happened there. So with me being so involved in it. And there's so many shots in that I'm like, how did we get that? Like with the hat floating, and there's all these things that happen. I'm like shooting, and then like it just pans over. I'm doing it, but I panned over and there's the hat, and like that's me in the water with her, you know, like, and I've lost cameras doing that. I just get too into it, I guess, but I appreciate that you find that video emotionally important. That's really cool.
Yeah, I think that stands out on emotional level. So, you know, you cover, because every song is different as well. So every video is carrying a different message and different vibe. And when I watched this one, like seriously, like there was no way I would like stop it and go away. Like I had to watch it until the end. And then you also, because it was so emotional, I like that you put like behind the scenes at the end.
That was Jeffrey. I mean, well, they had said, the manager, they had said, oh, we want some behind the scenes. And I'm like, oh, I have a VHS camera. Can we just use VHS footage? They're like, oh, that's fun. I was like, yeah. So that's all VHS, actually. Most of it. Except for that one. That's phone footage. But we shot a lot of behind the scenes on VHS. And that actually makes me think of a sore subject, because the cracked video, I hope it comes out. That's my favorite video, and it hasn't come out yet. So hopefully that will come out.
I wanted to ask about this, and I wasn't sure like if I should ask, because I was
I really hope it comes out. I think it's one of the best videos I've ever made, like artistically. And I can't believe it's not out. I'm just someday.
I can't wait. I'm like, oh, I want to see that.
I really love it. And I can't like just go redo it. It's like completely relevant. There's pieces of it in Lonely Generation, where she's sitting and there's like, she's singing through this thing of wood, this like barrel. That's from the Cracked video. But it's not, that doesn't sell the video. I mean, the video is very beautiful. The song is amazing. I mean, there's so much about it.
I wanted to ask as well, how much do you storyboard, or how much do you require to know exactly for each video shoot in terms of storyboards? So you overdo it, you have like every single scene, or you just have some concept and you go with it?
Client first on that one. So if the client is hinting at that, cater to it, especially if you're starting out. I know they want things to feel organized. And however, if they ask you to show up the day before and you have 4 minutes to prepare, then how much can they expect you to be organized? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's a level of hopefully there's some level of mercy there, but that's my first advice, is to really key in on what the client is asking for. In terms of my own process, I look at things in terms of bare minimums. So like, I know I need the typical like story intro stuff. I need like my own like reaction to the environment. And usually, after I make a list of probably 10 items, depends on the video, I get those pieces. And then I leave a very open space to outdo my idea and outdo everything, and then hope that the band keys in on that. So the magic of it is really in the moment. Like the opening shot of Diamonds. We didn't storyboard the shot of her in the silhouette. And my DP and I were arguing. And we argued that whole time. I love him, but he and I were arguing the whole time. One verbatim, he's like, I'm going to shoot a wide. I'm like, I'm never going to use it. Like, don't. He's like, I'm going to get it. I'm like, you know what? Why don't you take a break and go look at my reel and realize how I don't ever use those? And he's like, whatever. We had this huge fight. And then I'm like, okay, he wants an establishing shot. So I went in, I looked around and found that one with her, with the gun on her hip. Like it was in the space. So if you can be nimble like that, that's awesome. Whether or not your clients are going to trust that is another thing. And that's why I'm saying you may need to define that element to the client. It's also about taking a risk, and a lot of people don't want to take a risk, but I've taken many risks where I'm like, oh, it's this, and they're like, that's not anywhere near what we talked about. I'm like, yeah, but look. And then they're like, you're fired. or they're like, oh, okay, cool.
It's a masterpiece.
Well, it's like a balance, right? I'm not recommending that necessarily. I'm just saying, I don't know, you only live once. There's a chance there might be something more beautiful out in the world that you just don't know about until you get there. And that happens with these videos. And I learned that with the Killers, really. There's so many unpredictable things. I had a great shot list for Human, And I remember my AD came to me and was like, you're only like a quarter through. I'm like, dude, we got it. We got it, bro. Once we shot those lights, we got that before the band even showed up, like those light elements in the desert with the smoke. I was like,
I love it.
Yeah, I was so happy because that was totally like a weird design element that I just like came up with that I didn't even tell them about. I just put it in.
Well, it did work.
What?
Yeah. It did work again. It's a great video. So.
I don't know. It's like rolling the dice, though. It is rolling the dice.
Yeah.
There's plenty of footage that doesn't make it in, when in the process where they're like, what the heck is that? Like there's footage of, I remember in World We Live In, there was like a rodent that I had in there that was like eating something. And Brandon's like, that has to go. I'm like, what do you mean? It's so funny.
Speaking of, basically, I wanted to know if you're a fan of visual effects or any kind of post-production miracles, or do you want to just grab some dynamite like in stock video and just put it on the on set?
Yeah, I'm a fan of in-camera, but not to the extent that I'm like, VFX is stupid. Like that's not it. Yeah, I love that you brought up stock, for example. People were doing explosions in Utah, and I'm like, why am I not doing explosions? I want to do explosions. I can do explosions. So we found a guy, and I mean, that was the top of my list. I think that's one of the things that made the band want to do a video. Was I was like, we're going to do explosions. It really is a good gimmick because nobody does them for real anymore. But there are a couple locations in Utah where you can still do it, and it's like low key, You get the fire department out there. I just shot a show in the same location and like lit the desert on fire, and the fire department put it out. I mean, it was crazy. I like in camera though. If you can just keep it simple, and think of clever ways of making, I don't know, visual effects. There's all kinds of camera tricks, right?
Yeah.
I learned those from shooting skateboarding videos and things.
So speaking of the process, do you also edit the videos that you direct? Because I have seen on The World We Live In, you're credited as an editor as well.
Yes, I edit all the videos.
So you don't give it to anyone? Yeah, I think that's how it should be. Don't you think?
I've tried that. I'm doing that more. I've had some weird experiences where clients are like, what is going on? Like, I've tried that before. They're like, this doesn't feel like a video, like your video. I'm like, oh, geez. So then I go re-edit it, and it's like, oh, there it is. I have no idea what's going on. No, I literally don't, because I didn't study editing or anything. My editing is so outside the normal. I'm not trying to do this or anything. It's just so outside the normal understanding, I think. And sometimes it makes people feel weird, but generally it works. I've had actually really interesting experiences because of the video edits. Like with Human, the label hated the edit. They were like, what is up with this edit? And I'm like, what do you mean? That's the video. I don't know. It's because, it doesn't like hit the beat like on a cut. Like, it's more fluid. The secret sauce is that I grew up in a band. Like, I was playing in a band from when I was a teenager as a drummer. So I hear all these different parts in different emotional ways. So I cling to those parts as I'm feeling them, whatever's happening in the mix, and I edit according to that. So the beat has very little to do with what's happening with the edit, typically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
That's just trying to extend the video beyond the norm. I'm trying to extend something out of it. So, the song. Extend something out of the song through the video, because the song is the most important element. So
you said they hated the edit, but you didn't do anything about it. This is the version that we see now, or did you change it?
No, I didn't change a thing. I got I know, you know what? I'm very pleased with that. That was another risk. I don't know where that came from. I wouldn't do that now. But back then I was like, I had so much chutzpah. I was like, that's what it is. I don't know. Read about Picasso, and then you're just like, forget it. I'm doing what I want. It's like, kind of a little bit of that.
Did you feel more creative freedom with Echosmith as well?
That was
or did they want to change a lot of things, or they were happy about everything?
No, they were super gracious about the endeavor. You know what I mean? Like, they cut me a lot of slack artistically. Because they knew what was going into it, and that I was such an author of the look of it. And it was also very collaborative. Jeffrey's been very clear, and he was from the beginning, that he was amazed at how collaborative I was. Like, they would give notes and I would totally instantly incorporate them, like on the spot. Like, oh, do this. Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that. Whether or not we use that, I don't know, but it was constantly and consistently like that, organic. And it's great. I mean, that comes into the editing too. If you get like the right client, you have thick enough skin, sometimes I'll do the first edit that's like teasing out of them what they don't like, and then I can make an edit that looks exactly what they like, that's still my feeling. That's also dangerous, because if they're like knee-jerk, then you end up in a weird situation. So that's happened too, where it's like, someone's trying to kind of take over, and I'm like, no. And then like I fix it, and then like, okay, good. That's happened before. So you just have to be like really strong and understand your vision, and not, not contradict the band at all. That's not what I'm saying. You don't go, oh, well, you have to do this. Like, I never do that.
Let me finish with the question of basically the current projects or the future projects. So are you going to continue the collaboration with Echosmith for the next album? Are you going to make 13 videos next time, or?
I'm still working with them. I just hung out. I was just in Idaho shooting some videos with Jeffrey, and Noah's in the video. So we're still doing things together. Yeah, that's completely open and ready to go. I really want to work with this band, Modest Mouse, but I don't know how to reach them. But that's next. I've been trying to work with them forever because Isaac is a legend, and I don't understand how he can still be himself and make music. It's insane what he's done. So I don't know if you like them, but I want to work with them. There's a bunch of bands I want to work with, but I'm doing a show now. I just finished my first scripted web series.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When can people watch it?
I'll send you a link later when it's ready. It's called Hello Lo-Fi. And it's basically in a world where no one's allowed to smile or have fun anymore. 2 detectives have been assigned to crack down on errant happiness. And a woman who works at the agency for protecting human beings from happiness infiltrates their little world and serves as a double agent between the underground of happiness and the rest of the world. So all of that being said, it's like Miami Vice meets Monty Python.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I wish you a very nice day. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Take care.
Nice to meet you.